please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today, because the news has been a bit on the quiet side, and you guys aren't interested in crime as much on this channel, nor politics on this channel, we're going to do another response video, which also isn't all that popular on this channel. This time, to one of the more recent generations, showcasing their level of gratitude towards their family for having the audacity to be in their life. This video is being used on Twitter, or X, as a way of framing that the more recent generation have everything and are truly ungrateful. I prefer to think of it as a more simplistic, taking far too much for granted. Although, from personal experience of what I see in my life, this is as much the fault of the parents as it is the children. It stops being the parents' fault though once they're adults as well.
Am I the only one whose narcissistic parent would show up to every single event I was ever involved in?
You are not the only one that had a parent turn up to every event they were in. I can safely tell you that when I was a child, if I was involved in events, for the most part, beyond sports day in my primary school of Burstow, my parents did not feature or factor into events. That could be because they had to work a lot to pay the bills. It could be because they broke up at a point, and so to be involved in my life as much got a lot harder. It could also be because as I grew older, I became more closed off and less inclined to tell people when things were happening. To start off the bat by indicating that your parents are narcissistic enough to turn up to an event to support you tells me from your personal experience or your lived experience, you believe that them being there is solely done so that they can look good. Which, I'll be honest, it is that, but it's also the other thing, more commonly known as amor simpliciter, basically unconditional love. They are there to watch you succeed because as a family you succeed together. This is going to be a long-winded point, but it's one worth pointing out. Parents aren't only doing it so that they can look good, although they do get bragging rights when you succeed. They really do, because they created you, they raised you. What you go on to achieve isn't just what you've done, it's a testament to what they've done to help you get there, making all the right decisions to encourage you on a path to success. If they hadn't been at those events, this video would be the following.
Oh no, my parents are never there, they don't love me, they never support me.
Do you get it? Do you understand it? I think you'll find the narcissist is not the person you are accusing of being one, it is the person making the accusation of it. Because I don't think you actually understand what the definition of narcissist is.
This is one of those weird ones where I always felt like speaking about this behavior negatively could be perceived in the wrong way.
I'll be honest, there isn't much in the way of a version of a reality where it can be considered positive, because it's hardly constructive criticism that you've taken it to TikTok to espouse your belief that your parents are narcissistic. Of course, when a narcissist is a behavioral trait that can be argued to be ad hom at the best of times. You're already insulting those that raised you because how dare they be there for you, where the reward for them is not only seeing you succeed, but that they get to brag that you did that to their friends. Say you go on and become something successful with your career. Yeah, right? You successfully become the very first human to land on Uranus after performing a 900 on a half pipe carved out of Bitcoin. That is a flex your parents can brag about. And to be honest, that is a part and a perk of the unwritten contract that falls within the part of amor simpliciter. The unconditional love grants them that. Parental privilege. PP, if you like.
Like my parent was just being supportive, and how lucky was I to have a parent who always showed up. Boo-hoo, your parent was there for you.
I get the feeling we're about to enter into the ballpark, the realm of ungrateful. I would have loved nothing more than to have that in my life. Beyond the very few sports days they were ever able to be present, owing to the fact that they were working so many hours to ensure that we were able to be fed, the roof was over our head, and that the clothes we received were maintained to a reasonable enough standard, because they were all hand-me-downs anyway, that we were able to go to school with clothes on our backs, while they themselves were unable to be treated. The fact your parents are able to be there is a blessing that many of us would have wanted, and you right now come across as someone who is lining up for an ungrateful moment situation type deal.
But did you also feel like sometimes it was a bit excessive, especially if it was a bit more of a repetitive thing?
Every weekend, my sisters take their daughters to gymnastics. Every weekend, my sisters are present. They stand in the galley watching as they train, as they practice, as they learn. Because their daughters now know they're always going to be there for them. That's the message that they want their child to realize, so that they can learn, the children that is, as they grow up, that level of responsibility, the burden of it, is not a burden for them. I don't think you get this, because I think you believe them being present, regardless of how frequent or how often you do the same thing, they're only doing it for themselves. You started with the word narcissist, yet by describing them as people who are there on a regular, even for things that are monotonous, that would lead me to believe that is not the real reason as to why they are in attendance.
Where maybe I was doing the same thing on multiple days in a row, like you do not have to attend every one.
This is where you come from a generation of people who may not understand, because you take for granted the very basic concept of unconditional love, which I've said in Latin a few times already. They don't have to be there, but they want to be there. A testament to their devotion to you, their creation. It seems a bit weird that you don't understand that, but you have started this again by saying narcissistic parents. And now, since more time has passed in this video, it is safe to say you do not understand it. The term narcissism, something which I posited right at the start.
And what makes this lean more towards the negative, in my opinion, in terms of behavior, is that if I ever didn't want them to show up to every single showing of something, that was considered to be disrespectful.
That's because it is. While you do as a growing child into early adulthood have options, your ability to choose who gets to support you is somewhat diminished, actually. The parent's voice should always supersede that of the child's. There are some extreme examples that can be considered exceptions. For example, Jeffrey Younger's son being forcibly transitioned by the mother, a doctor who should know better, transitioning a child well below the age of where it should be remotely acceptable. I inserted that because somebody else would undoubtedly want to bring it up as an extreme and pointlessly pedantic point, in the context of this subject that is. Generally, the rights of the parent supersede that of the child, and it is disrespectful to not want your mother or father to be present to watch you do something where you could in fact succeed. How does that make them narcissistic, though?
It was very much that taking me out of school for lunch, sort of picking me up and dropping me off everywhere I went energy.
Am I the only person who would have killed to have that kind of upbringing? I had to walk to go anywhere, sometimes several miles to go meet up with one friend for half an hour to then walk several miles to go home, or ride if my trousers didn't get torn on my bike chain. You sound so ungrateful. And yes, I did learn to tuck my trousers into my socks eventually. Chain guards weren't as much of a thing in the 90s. When you had a hand-me-down bike that didn't have one, you couldn't afford a replacement, and I certainly didn't have a 3D printer back then either.
Where, on the surface, it seems very convenient, very thoughtful, even.
Do explain to me what, on the surface, makes it convenient for a parent to go out of their way to ensure that they are as much involved in their child's life so when they become an adult, they maintain a good, solid relationship so that their child has the best chance to be just like them, so that they raise their children in what could be considered right, so that they can continue that kind of legacy built off of unconditional love and kindness, and apparently going the extra mile for somebody who cannot understand that very basic concept without trying to find something negative about it to complain about. It's okay, they're about to explain it, I just thought I'd set it up.
But it's a pattern of controlling behavior, I think, for narcissistic parents that prevented me from practicing independence and developing relationships outside of my immediate family.
I like that you've tried to make it seem like your practicing of independence supersedes the family's involvement in your life, as if you can't do both in any other way. And this is what makes a parent a narcissistic parent. You take what you have for granted. They went the extra mile for you because they love you, and you don't care. You just want personal space, so that you can be less involved in their lives and them involved in yours less as well. Removing of the responsibility, basic. Am I right to assume that because you've not been able to practice your independence, you still live at home, and that is all their fault? Because I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone in my audience that doesn't think that. It's a bit embarrassing, really. Does it make a parent narcissistic? No, and you've not once proven how they are narcissistic. You've inferred what you believe to be negative characteristics and associated it with narcissism, but you've not proven your parents to be narcissistic. You've just gone in on them because they didn't give you enough personal space. When you live in their home, as a child, as a teen, as a young adult, you obey their rules. They were trying to teach you to be a better person, and you didn't care. And they were leading by example, and you still didn't care. You are being used by a number of people on Twitter to paint a picture of a current generation who do not understand because they have everything and they just don't grasp how precious it truly is. This video is on social media. It is a testament to your intellect and will be a legacy you leave behind. When you're old, this video will still be on the internet. That message you've just put out will come back to bite you on the ass and you will regret it.